today I'm talking about phonics in year one. Some children go into year one and they're going to be different levels. So some children will have flown with phonics last year and they'll be really confident at blending and reading and segmenting and spelling. Some children might be going into year one and they might find it a little bit tricky, and that's fine. Teachers will know that children will be at different stages. In my pack, I have phases 2 to 4 in the reception pack, and that's because phase 4 does come into reception, but many schools will teach it either as a recap in year one, or they'll do it as a review. So you might find that your child's going into year one and they're coming home and they're saying they're doing phase 4. Also, some schools will do different schemes and they might call it different things. Some do it in a slightly different order. I know Read, Write, Ink teaches in a slightly different order to the letters and sounds, but my packs and lots of the phonics schemes follow letters and sounds, which is what the order the government said to teach the phonics. So today I'm going to talk to you about phase 4. So before children start phase 4, so they might have been doing it in reception or in year one, like I said, they will have done phase 1 in nursery, which is all about hearing sounds and playing with sounds, not necessarily learning what letters look like, but how to play around with those sounds and do the skills that will lead them to read and spell. And then in reception, they will go on to phase 2, and they will learn single letter sounds. They will learn a few letters where 2 letters make one sound together. That's called a digraph. They will learn some high frequency words, which are the words that they can sound out and decode. So they can sound it out like g, et, get. These kind of words here in my pack with the stripe, if they can learn them off by heart, it will make them more fluent readers, but they can sound them out. And then they will have also learnt some tricky words, and those are ones that with the sounds they've learnt so far, or the spelling rules, aren't easy to sound out or can't be sounded out. And we want children to be able to recognise those by sight. So they'll have done those in phase 2. Then they will have done phase 3 in reception, which is where, again, there's some more single letter sounds, but then there's lots more of the digraphs where 2 letters make one sound. So you might be familiar with these from last year. Trigraphs where 3 letters are making one sound. Children don't have to be confident with all of those sounds to be able to move to phase 4, because a lot of phase 4 is consolidating these sounds. They will be in the words that they'll be learning. So if your child's not confident with those, they can still move on to phase 4. And then obviously there's more high frequency words they can sound out, and then some more tricky words in phase 3. Now, if your child can't read all of those, that's fine, you can still work on them. They will learn to spell those tricky words from phase 3 in phase 4. So that's kind of what they would have done before they start phase 4. We want children that are learning this phase to be able to blend. So if they have 3 of those sounds, can they run them together and make a word? So if they see sh, all, they can put it together to make shell. And can they pull apart to spell? So if they hear shop, sh, up, can they break that down and write it? If children are struggling with those skills, again, that is going to be consolidated in this phase, but we want them to kind of really be able to do that to move on to do longer words. So CVC words are what they're really comfortable with, and they're the consonant, the vowel, and the consonant. The next thing they're going to learn is a CVCC word, okay? That's consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant. And I made a game with Benji yesterday to see if he could do this. So I'm going to show you a game instead, because that's kind of what I'm better at doing. So I had a piece of paper, it's just an A4, I folded it in half, and half, and then I chopped off this section of it here. Okay, so it was a big piece of paper. That's so I could fold down this secret bit at the end. I hid a letter at the end that I didn't show Benji. So I put a K at the end, and then I blue tacked that shut, so it was kind of like a secret word. And I said to him he had to break the code to work out the CVCC word. So there was going to be a consonant, a vowel, and a consonant. And I gave him, he likes to be quite active, so if I put this at a table, he wouldn't join in. So I hid 3 sounds around the room, and I hid the N, the P, and the I. So he went off and he searched and he found them all. And when he came back, he had to have a go at making a CVC word with those. So we needed the consonant, the vowel, and the consonant. So he had a go at putting them in order. So he tried, he didn't know which was a consonant and vowel, so he put them in any order, and he put this. And when he sounded it out, he couldn't make a word. So he tried it in another order, and he made this one, and he went, nip. I said, that is a word. We talked about what it meant. said it wasn't the code word. So he tried again and he made this word and he got pin, and that was a word. And I said he broke the code. So then he put those onto the phoneme frame, one letter in each space, and because he'd broken the code, he got to open the secret bit at the end. So now he'd got a longer word, he'd got a CVCC word, and he got p-i-n-k, and he sounded it out and he said it was pink. And that was just a way, and we made lots of different ones, and I've got a game that I can share for you with lots of examples of words you can do with that. And that just showed me if he could put two consonants together, and he could do that, and he was just making a word longer. So that was a good way to do that. You can also do the same game for the next one we're going to do, but just by turning this upside down and hiding the first sound. So the same game, but this time they're going to learn that sometimes our words can have two consonants together at the beginning, and then a vowel, and then a consonant. Now you will have seen this in words like shall, like this, but shall is actually a CVC word, because in this word the S and the H work together. That's a digraph to make sh. The E works by itself, and the L is from oo. The two L's are working together to make oo. So this one is a CVC word. If you had the word, I'm going to find an example off my list. So a CVC word could be plan. It wouldn't work by making that word, because you need, if you want to play that game, you need to have a three-letter word that would work without the one at the beginning. So this one would work. So you could hide LAP, you could hide those around the room, and hiding underneath the bit at the beginning, if you turned it upside down, in that beginning space, you could put the letter C. So when they found the LAP, they could arrange dates to make a word, put them on the phoneme frame, and then at the beginning, they'll uncover the C. And the reason that's a CVC word is because in clap, you can hear all four sounds. The C and the L aren't making a new sound. They're not working together to change it to make a new sound. You can hear cl, cl. So you can hear clap. So that's a CVC word. So it's giving children the skills to really listen in and hear two letters going together. You might have heard them called blends, and some schools still teach them, so they may teach children things like that. Quite often you might see like this string of letters, or MP is a common one. Some schools might teach it as a blend. Now the reason why I don't do that, and lots of schemes don't do that, is because you've already asked children to learn like a pile of sounds like this, the digraphs, and if you give them lots and lots more to learn, you're vastly increasing how many things they need to remember. And they don't have to, because they aren't making a new sound. They don't need to learn anything new. They know from phase 2 all the letters in that word to read that word. They don't need to remember a cl sound, because they can sound like and blend them together. So if you teach blends, that's more for them to remember. If you just teach them that sometimes we've got two letters next to each other, really need to listen to how they go together, they'll be able to read far more words, and it will support them with spelling. So if you can hear, if you get them to spell, like I said earlier, the word went, and they're writing wet, then you need to play some games where they're hearing two consonants next to each other. So once they get the hang of those, they're going to go on to CCVCC. They don't need to know they're called these. You don't need to say that they're called these, but this is just what they're doing. They're learning to put two consonants next to each other. So CCVCC. And because it's tricky to think of them off the top of your head, I have made this for you to download later, and they've got some examples there of words that come under those. Remembering that these are separate letters. However, they don't have to be. Because one of the things that they do in phase 4, that is the reason I said if they don't know all of these sounds, they will be consolidating them. Some of those CVC words and CCVC and all those different things can be made with phase 3 sounds. So if we go back to the CVCC and we do a phase 3 one, if I do the word paint, so if we sound out paint, P-A, and you might find that children struggle to hear that N and the T. And the way I used to teach it was I'd say paint, and at the end we can hear nt, and we'd like try and break that sound apart. So nt, 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 until they could hear the two different consonants. So here, it's not 4 letters in that word. There are 5 letters, but there are only 4 sounds. So if we sound out paint, p, a, n, t, paint. So we've got p, a, n, t. So sometimes the C can stand for a consonant digraph where 2 letters are making the consonant sound. And the V can stand for a vowel digraph where 2 letters are making, or 3 if it's something like I, are making that sound. So they might be longer than 4 letters or 5 letters. They can have phase 3 sounds. And then one of the big things in phase 4 is we want children to be able to apply those skills to polysyllabic words, which just means words that are longer than 1 syllable. So we've been used to doing things like paint and clap and all those 1 syllable words. Can they do things like sandpit? And lots of the words are compound words where they're made of 2 words that on their own are words like sand and pit, and when we put them together they make a new word, sandpit. And we teach children to chunk those words. So if they hear sandpit, they might clap sandpit. You can also put your hand under your chin and say the word, so sandpit. And then we chunk those up. So if we're going to spell sandpit, or we're going to read sandpit, so if you come across that in your book with your child at home, Benji hates reading long words, so he would instantly go, can't do it. But if you break that up and you think as an adult, right, sandpit, what's the second syllable? Cover up that second syllable for them. Just get them to concentrate on that one. You're back to a CVCC word. So they can sound out s, a, n, d. If they find it tricky, add the buttons underneath to remind them that there's 4 sounds. Underline any digraphs if it's got it in. So s, a, n, d, sand. And then do your second syllable, p, it, pit, and then put them together, sand, pit. So phase 4 is all about giving them confidence to attempt those longer words for spelling, for reading, so that when they get to phase 5, they're confident with those skills because they're going to learn new sounds. So in phase 5, in this word here, so I've got some phase 5 words, they learn in phase... And I'll talk more about phase 5 tomorrow or next week when we do the next one. So in phase 3, they learn A, this digraph, AI, and they would recap that in phase 4 and some of the words they do. In phase 5, they're going to learn a new way to write that down. It makes the same sound, but it looks different. Okay, so they've been used to reading those in CVC words. It's got the 3 sounds, the vowel, the consonant, the vowel, the consonant. So s, a, u, sail. Then they'll have had to go putting that word into phase 4 words. So they might have, see if I've got one on my list with the phase. So paint, we've just done that one. So that's in a phase 4 word there. And then they're going to learn that actually sometimes we write that differently. So we want them to be confident with being able to read those words. So when they approach it in a different way, they've got those blending skills. So they can go, oh, it's a new way to write that down. S, a, say. So the phase 5 cards that I've made have got some phase 4 words in them using the phase 5 sound. So they've got the consonants next to each other, and then they've got the phase 5 grapheme. So we've got a, spray. And again, some schemes, some schools might teach that as 1 sound, but it's like I said, it's just adding more things for them to learn. If they can just recognise that those are letters and they can blend them together, they can read so much more. And then in that pack as well, I've tried to put some words with more than 1 syllable. So this one isn't a compound word because cray is not a word by itself, but crayon. So we could, as an adult, we could think, right, we're going to do the first syllable. So cover it up. Right, can you do that syllable? A, cray. Can you do that one? Oh, you'll know that. On, crayon. So it's just giving them the skills to be confident to try longer words. That's what phase 4 is about. So you might be sitting here and your child may have done it in year reception and they might be really confident with it and they're ready to move on to phase 5. You might be sitting here and your child hasn't done it yet and they're about to start it in year 1. That's great, they'll work through it. You might be sitting here and thinking they're still finding phase 3 a little bit tricky. Benji's still got a couple of sounds he's not remembered. He's still struggling with the tricky words. That's fine. We can still recap those phases through some games and I'll be sharing more on that next week as well.